Yo, what it do, good people? We is back with another vid. Need y'all to like, share, and subscribe. And hit that notification bell. Let's get this live to like 500 likes. Everybody come in, tap that like button, and share the live. Let's get into it. We have had forget multiple, we'll say several mass shootings in Chicago alone. But in other states, we have seen multiple mass shootings within the span of 48 hours. We're gonna start off with the first one that sparked it all, the Mellow Bucks release party. So if y'all come in, like, share, and subscribe.
Scene, we are following some breaking news, which takes us out to the windy city of Chicago. Take a look at your screen as Fox 32 Chicago reports this Thursday morning, a mass shooting in River North sent at least a dozen people to local hospitals on Wednesday night. Tragic news we are following on the eve of July 4th. We're learning this happened around 11:30 Wednesday night into the early morning hours of this Thursday. Transitioning your screen to give you a live look, a beautiful skyline shot there, the windy city of Chicago. But we also want to head down to the ground outside of that nightclub to share the very latest details. You can see markers are still on the ground outside of that nightclub on this Thursday morning. We're learning at least 4 people have died from gunshot wounds. 14 others have been hospitalized following a drive-by shooting in Chicago. Police confirming that information this Thursday to our content partners over at the Associated Press. They say at least 3 were in critical condition from that wounded toll. The shooting happening late Wednesday in Chicago's River North neighborhood. Several media outlets said it happened outside a restaurant and lounge that had hosted an album release party for a rapper. They go on to report someone opened fire into a crowd standing outside, and the vehicle immediately drove away. At this time, no one is in custody. Now let's head back to the preliminary information from police. Police reporting that 13 women and 5 men ranging in age from 21 to 32 were shot, and that the dead included 2 men and 2 women. Those shot were taken to multiple hospitals in the area. Chris King, a spokesperson for Northwestern Medicine, said the emergency department was evaluating several people injured in the shooting, but he could not provide the number of people that were actually sent to the hospital, nor could he provide their condition. Earlier this morning, an area pastor spoke to the media about the violence that erupted late Wednesday night into this Thursday. Take a listen.
What have you learned about what happened here last night?
When I arrived last night, it was absolute chaos. From people screaming to blood on the streets to people laying on the streets, just a massive police presence, just horrific, more than I've ever seen. And seems that there was some album release party, people coming from that. A SUV pulls up and just opens fire on a crowd of people, and 18 shot and four dead at this point. And the worst I've seen, just people wanting to find their other people, find who was alive, finding who was, where their phones were, because they dropped them in the chaos, so they couldn't even couldn't even find their car keys. It's something that you wouldn't expect to find in the city. We have a lot of shootings, but nothing like this.
Something you wouldn't expect to find in River North, but speak to that part of it, and also speak to the fact that this was an album listening party, female rapper from Chicago, and yet it drew this crowd. We're hearing mostly women, and yet this SUV pulled up with multiple people inside and opened fire.
Yeah, we just want to play a little bit of that because this happened 2 days ago. This was the first incident that sparked everything. And ever since then, Chicago just been, I don't know, the last couple days. Tap into it.
Chicago police also investigating this mass shooting on the southwest side. Police say 4 people were shot. 3 of them are seriously hurt. This happened just before 2 o'clock this morning near California and 27th, less than a block away from the Cook County Courthouse.
Crazy.
According to CPD, a dark SUV drove past the victims who were inside of a parked vehicle. That's when police say people inside the SUV fired shots, striking the victims. No one is in custody. Chicago police also investigating this mass shooting on the southwest side. Police say 4 people were shot. 3 of them are seriously hurt. This happened just before 2 o'clock this morning near California and 27th, less than a block away from the Cook County Courthouse.
Hit that like button, y'all coming in. And Mayor Brandon Johnson say crime is down in Chicago.
Breaking overnight, another mass shooting in Chicago in less than a week. Police say 7 people were shot while standing outside on the southwest side. This was the scene earlier near 48th and Justine in the Back of the Yards neighborhood. Officers tell us 2 men walked up and started shooting into a crowd of people. All victims were taken to the hospital at last check, are all in serious to critical condition. This morning, police are now looking for the shooters.
And people think this is something new. This is damn near normal life in Chicago. It's always a shooting, a mass shooting, multiple people getting shot. But what's crazy, all this is going back to back like this. Not just in Chicago. Give me 1 second, y'all.
Well, Valentine, we know at this hour that 18 people were shot in this incident. At least 4 of those individuals were killed. 2 men and were seriously injured in the shooting.
Wow, we need more ambulances out here. We don't have nearly enough.
How many more ambulances are needed?
At least 2 or 3.
Video from the scene overnight shows the chaos as crews rushed to treat the wounded. This happened at around 11 o'clock last night near a restaurant and lounge here at Chicago and Franklin, that intersection right there. A violence interrupter who was at the scene says the victims were shot as they left an event hosted by a local rapper. Investigators say a dark sedan pulled up when at least 1 person inside pulled out a gun and started shooting into a crowd of people outside the restaurant and lounge. That's when police say the suspects drove off. First responders rushed to the scene and took the victims to multiple hospitals nearby. We just spoke with one woman who lives nearby who tells us she saw the moments the gunfire erupted.
There was a lot of people standing out here laughing, having a good time. I'm walking to the gas station and I looked around. People were just falling and screaming.
We also heard from rapper Mellow Bucks, who was hosting a mixtape release party inside that restaurant and lounge at the time. She posted this statement on Instagram earlier, writing, quote, "Prayers up for all my sisters. God, please wrap your arms around every last one of them." Now back here live in River North this morning, Chicago.
Yeah, that's crazy. That is crazy. But let's get into this Indianapolis mass shooting real quick.
My name is Tanya Terry, and I'm the Deputy Chief of Operations for IMPD. As always, this information I'm about to share with you is preliminary and subject to change. Before I get to the incident, let me say that my thoughts are with everyone that was impacted by this incidents of violence out here tonight, including the victims, their families, and the first responders that were managing this chaotic scene and rendering aid. Here's what we know so far. At approximately 1:27 a.m., officers were investigating a disturbance at Washington and Meridian Street. They were notified of another disturbance down the street at Illinois and Washington Street. As officers were approaching that second disturbance, they heard shots fired, and as they arrived on the scene, they encountered several people suffering from apparent gunshot wounds. Officers and IEMS medics who were embedded with our officers immediately began rendering aid to the victims that they were encountering.
Let me guess, you're thinking about going to therapy. And as a therapist myself, of course I'm going to say that's a great idea.
They also called for several additional ambulances. In total, we had 5 victims transported away from the scene to area hospitals for treatment. A 6th victim was pronounced dead on the scene. A 7th victim walked into an area hospital and is in stable condition. 3 of those victims are juveniles and 3 are adults. We do not know the identity or the age of the victim that was pronounced dead at the scene. The victim who died at the hospital was a juvenile. We have also recovered several firearms at the scene. We do not yet know whether those firearms were that was or adult. 3 of those victims are juveniles and 3 are adults. We do not know the identity or the age of the victim that was pronounced dead at the scene. The victim who died at the hospital was a juvenile.
Wow.
We have also recovered several firearms at the scene. We do not yet know whether those firearms were involved in this incident. Our detectives will work to determine that. And we have multiple people, about 7 people detained for further investigation. We also don't know their involvement at this point in time. The investigation is early. I think that's the very brief facts that we have at this time. At this point, I'll turn it over to Chief Bailey.
Chris Bailey, Chief of Police for the Indianapolis Metropolitan Police Department. I'll just add on a little bit to what she said about our thoughts and prayers for the victims here tonight, their families, and the long road ahead for all of them as we try to uncover exactly what and why this all happened tonight. This kind of violence, whether downtown or any of our neighborhoods, is completely unacceptable and unnecessary. Unnecessary. Thousands of people came downtown tonight, enjoyed the fireworks, and went home. Thousands more chose to come down here and all night cause trouble. I was down here until about 12:30 tonight. I worked with my officers, took the runs with them, dealt with the disturbances, dealt with the utter disrespect for our city, for our laws, and for law enforcement. Hundreds of unsupervised kids down here. I don't know how many times I have to say it. We are not your children's keepers.
And that's the problem. Where do the parents be at? Let's show you these parents don't give a damn about these kids. These kids be all over the place. Half these parents don't know where their kids at. Half the kids don't know where the parents at.
You are. And parents and guardians have got to step up. A kid is dead tonight. And we just don't know the age of the young man down the street, still here, dead.
Damn.
He looks young. It's unacceptable. The police department all night long went from place to place to place, trying to prevent these kind of things. And I gotta be honest, I'm tired of it. You should be tired of it. This is not our job to do this. It is unnecessary. You don't have to act like this. Our officers, half a block away from when before this shooting started, dealing with another group of individuals fighting. We made almost, probably, well, we're still tallying them, about 20 arrests tonight. Recovered guns that I know of before this happened from 2 kids. One of them was an assault rifle stuffed in the front of his pants.
These kids don't.
I'm not sure anymore what it's going to take for some of our.
Boy, these kids feel so tough with them pistols and firearms on them. That's why they walk around with them. They don't care about the police putting up none of that.
Community to wake up. I've said it. This is where the kids are. This is where they are. on Friday and Saturday nights. If you want to engage them, if you want to help them, you want to prevent some of this violence, this is where they are. Here, they're here. Come down. I invite all of those who think that I'm exaggerating this or that I'm saying just because it's downtown. No, nowhere else in the city is this concentration of people in one small area, less than a half a mile. Come down and see for yourself. You don't have to take my word for it. You can see them being dropped off by their parents, 5 or 6 at a time out of the car.
Parents don't care.
You can see them jump out of Ubers and Lyfts. And you can.
The parents don't care. They don't even know where the parents at. The parents don't know where they at.
See them jumping off the buses that they ride down, that they miss and then linger around downtown. Heck, look to your left. You're still going to see some people that probably shouldn't be out here right now lingering. Not going to bars, not going to restaurants, didn't come down here to see the fireworks, shooting fireworks off at our community from the top of parking garages.
Now that's sad.
Unnecessary. Any questions?
Is it going to take other city departments to step up?
No, see, we keep going back to what's the government going to do? What's the city going to do? The city's invested in this. Millions of dollars the city, taxpayers pay for police overtime to staff this 1 square mile area with, there was a couple hundred cops down here between state police and Capitol Police and IMPD and other police department agencies. Yes, we're going to keep doing our job. The city of Indianapolis, government, the police department is going to continue to do our job. We're not going to solve this. Not just by the police. We made 20 arrests tonight.
Dang.
Bailey, you're a dad.
Yeah.
What would you say to those parents out there?
I don't understand it. I know where my kids are at all time. So maybe that's maybe I shouldn't be that way. 16-year-old daughter. I cannot imagine letting her roam around down here tonight like she was, like kids were.
Teach your kids not to shoot my kids and not teach my kids not to shoot your kids. Know where your kids at all the time, and I know where my kids at all the time. That's how it goes.
Unattended, unsupervised, nothing to do. Some of these individuals that were shot could have been very well not engaged in any kind of disturbance whatsoever. But it just caught up in a crossfire. Nearly down here.
It's so real. It got him on point. Y'all saw how he looked back? He's so on point.
Disturbance whatsoever.
That.
But it just caught up in a crossfire. Nearly down here, enjoying ice cream. Or maybe they were down here for the fireworks or wanted to see what's going on in the circle and got caught up in whatever's happening. But look, nothing good happens after midnight. Some of these kids should not have been out here, period. They missed the bus going back. With some of the stories that we heard, one of our officers prevented 2 young girls from getting into a stranger's car because they missed the bus to go back home.
Dang.
Wait, you have no ability to call your parents? Your parents wouldn't come pick you up if you missed the bus? There is a problem. There is a problem. It's not going to be solved by the police. It's our job to try to keep people safe, and they did it tonight. I watched it with my own eyes. I helped do some of it.
Share this live, y'all. Share this live. This is crazy.
They did all the work. They ran toward the gunfire down here as they were working another fight. They're all in. They're all in. So when I hear people say, oh, we're just worried about minor things in downtown Indianapolis. No, minor things turn into big things. The amount of guns that I saw tonight on people roaming around here with nothing else to do. We can't do anything about it. Like, unless you're a kid, there's nothing, unless you're doing something with the gun or doing something illegal. We can't go up and ask you what you're doing with the gun.
Exactly.
That turns into bad things, especially when there's fights or when there's alcohol or there's weed induced.
So can you confirm it was one juvenile and then one adult was dead?
We know for sure that there is one dead kid.
It's crazy. And what's crazy out here in Indiana, you know, the gun laws is different. So these guys will hop out the car, AR-15, double clipped up just to go in this store across the street. One kid went in the store, cocked the gun back. The guy behind the counter, he was so nervous, he didn't know what was going on. It's crazy out here. Be aware to be alive, y'all.
The other one, this dead individual, we're still. There's been nothing that occurred to make any kind of positive ID on that. I guarantee you, we're gonna share everything over the next day or so. All the arrests, what they were for. We're gonna give you pictures of the guns that we took from these kids, and we'll share more details about what happened here. And this could have very well happened in any neighborhood, but this is where the kids were. And I've told you this is where the kids were. This is where the kids are. I've told everyone this.
He pissed off.
Message tonight to the ones who come downtown, because unfortunately this is the second weekend we've had mass situations here downtown with kids. Message to these kids of
This is not the second weekend. This has been going on for years. Except now, a lot of these. I want to use my words carefully. A lot of these kids have guns, and we know some of the indicators, right? Backpacks on backwards. Some of them are wearing masks and other things where they can easily disguise themselves because there's cameras everywhere. They did it right under a camera tonight.
I want y'all to hear what he just said.
On backwards. Some of them are wearing masks and other things where they can easily disguise themselves because there's cameras everywhere. They did it right under a camera tonight. We made those arrests in the Canal shooting and the one at 30 South Meridian Street. Technology helped us do that. We're going to use technology again. We're going to find out who did it, and we're going to hold them accountable. And if I can convince the prosecutor to hold parents accountable, I'm going to do that too. I don't know that I can.
That's what they need to start doing. Hold these parents accountable. Because they don't even be knowing where their kids at.
Because there's a set of rules, and why I may see the rules differently than the prosecutor, because the prosecutor has to prosecute them. But I'm going to seek some kind of accountability to parents. There has to be more than just what are the police doing.
That'll be our final question. Thank you all.
Thank you.
So let's get into this Philadelphia shooting, y'all.
We are following some more breaking news. 2 people were killed in a shooting that injured at least 7 in Indianapolis, Indiana, early this morning. Officers responded to the intersection of West Market Street and North Illinois Street around 1:30 a.m. And you're taking a look at some of that footage there that we do have coming in here. Several roads were closed in the downtown area as officers probed the scene. Drivers and pedestrians are urged to avoid this area right now. No information on a potential suspect or what led to the shooting has been released as of this morning. The conditions of the surviving victims, that's also still unknown at this time. However, what we do have to share with you is a press conference about 12 minutes in length here from officials. Let's listen in.
Yeah, and if y'all just tuning in, we heard that press conference. We was just watching that, but we're going to get into this Philadelphia shooting. This is crazy. All these mass shootings that's going on.
The 3rd Police District responded to a call for a person shot on the 1100 block of South 11th Street, 1132 to be exact, at an establishment called 7 Elements Restaurant Bar Lounge. Upon arrival,
hey, share this live, y'all. Like this live and share this live, y'all.
Officers discovered 3 persons suffering from gunshot wounds. They were immediately taken to area hospitals. At least 2 of them are currently listed in critical condition. Since that time, we have learned that in addition to the 3 that police transported to the hospitals, an additional 8 have come into area hospitals, various hospitals in the area, suffering from gunshot wounds from this incident. So at this point, we believe there were 11 victims who were shot as a result of this incident at this particular location. We heard that there is a possibility that there may be another person, making it 12, but we have not been able to confirm that at this time. Given that there are so many victims, I cannot give you specifics as to where each individual was shot. However, they were shot in various parts of the body. The most serious injuries were a person working ostensibly as a security guard who was shot in the face, and also a woman who was shot in the back. They're both listed in critical condition. Others are reported to have been shot in the legs, extremities, arms, etc., and suffering other non-life-threatening gunshot injuries. The crime scene consists of multiple spent shell casings, both on the upper floor where the restaurant bar is located, and there are also additional shell casings on a stairway that leads from the upper floor to the bottom floor. More shell casings on the parking lot below. So we're not sure if those shell casings came from a gun that was fired above, or whether the gunman or gunmen continued firing even from the lower floors. We just haven't been able to determine that yet. It's still very, very early in the investigation. Given the magnitude of this incident, there are still a lot of unanswered questions. We have cleared the building itself. We have found no additional victims inside. However, there is a lot of evidence in there, money, identifications, that sort of thing. We're now combing through any video surveillance that might be able to give us some information on what exactly happened here this morning. Be more than happy to answer any additional questions if you have any.
Do we know, was this business open? How many people were inside? Was there a party for the 4th of July going on?
It's unclear. It's unclear. And also, given that this call came out around 3:53, this building should, this facility, this business should not be open that late.
Damn, so they don't even let them businesses be open late like that to prevent stuff like that from happening.
And upon arrival, it was shut. So we had to ensure that there were no additional victims inside. So we had to defeat the doors to get inside. We do not have any motives at this time, nor do we have any suspects in custody. We're unsure if this incident...
In every press conference we done heard, the same thing has been said. We have nobody in custody at this time.
Was perpetrated by one lone gunman, or whether there were multiple shooters. We just don't know that at this time yet.
When officers arrived on scene at like 3:53, what did it look like? Were there people all over, or?
A lot of the people were running. Officers, obviously, their focus, their priority was getting the injured to the hospital so that they could immediately get medical help. That was their focus. And, you know, 3 alone is a significant number of victims for officers to have to deal with at 3:53 in the morning. Once we started learning that more and more people were shot, naturally we have to now deploy more officers to the hospitals, investigators to the hospitals, to get that information from these other gunshot victims. So we're piecing it together. And again, this is going to take some time given the number of victims in this incident. But it does appear, fortunately, that even the 2 individuals that are listed in critical condition look like they're going to survive. So no one has died from this shooting as of yet, and it hopefully appears that no one will.
11 people shot is the most significant shooting Philadelphia's had since the Fairmount Park shooting, which was not too long ago.
It's a lot of people. I mean, I don't keep track of the statistics. However, again,
that's a lie. Anything that's something like severe like that, you're gonna remember that shit. I don't care how many incidents it happened, because something in particular with the situation is gonna stick to you. It's gonna stay in your mind.
And we're very thankful that these hardworking officers were able to get here on time and get these victims to the hospital as quickly as possible so that they can receive life-saving care. And again, there were at least 8 other individuals who were taken by private vehicle, and they also received care. Some of them were taken to non-trauma hospitals and they got whatever care they could at those hospitals and then transported to trauma hospitals that deal with gunshot victims on a regular basis. So, but at this time, that is the information that I have.
The evidence, can you kind of paint the picture as to where shell casings were found?
Well, again, there are shell casings that were found just outside of the bar, also on the upper balcony, And there were some shell casings also on the staircase as well, and also on the parking lot below. There were some, so it does appear that victims were running in all different directions, through the back way, through the front way.
Well, where were they coming from?
But again, our investigators are piecing all this together at this time.
How long do you guys plan to be out here?
Until the investigation is concluded, so however long that takes.
And is it multiple different hospitals that people were transported to?
That's correct. University of Pennsylvania Hospital, which is not a trauma hospital, but they did what they could. HUP, Cedar, and Jefferson also took some patients, and there might be at some other hospitals. Again, the number of persons shot necessitated persons going to different hospitals, because certainly the hospitals could be overwhelmed if all of those victims all went to the same hospital. So they were taken to various hospitals.
Is it unusual for a business where something like this happens inside, then we just close up and not report it?
We're still trying to figure out exactly what happened there.
Now, if that is the case, they did that because they don't want to be liable. They don't want to say they was open when the incident happened. But if it's cameras, they could pull back the camera footage and see what really happened. So that'd be stupid anyway.
And obviously our investigators are going to take the lead in trying to identify who was in that business, who was running the business, why they were open when they were. And also we're going to be reaching out to not only the owner or proprietors of the business, but also of this mall as well, to try to gather some additional surveillance footage. But there's going to be a lot of investigating that needs to be done, and a lot of questions that need to be answered.
Emotionally, is this difficult for the police department?
Well, our hardworking officers are always willing to give their all to ensure that we take persons who suffer these sorts of tragic incidents to safety to get the help that they need. But they are well equipped, well trained, and they're doing the absolute best that they can. And I'm very proud of these officers for all the hard work that they put in.
Yeah, that sounds like a little private party that went left. That's what it was. Somebody leaked the location or something. That's what it sounded like to me. Let's see. Let's listen to y'all favorite mayor.
Gary Gatewood, our CFD commissioner, Annette Nance-Holt. We also have our OMC executive director, Frank Velez. We stand here today certainly frustrated and angered by this senseless and cowardice act of violence. Last night, our city suffered two devastating mass shootings. One on the far south side that left 4 victims hospitalized. The other was in River North that took 4 lives, and there are 14 people who are still currently hospitalized. Our hearts are with the families of the victims, and we are praying for full recovery for all of those who were shot. Shootings like these are a tragic reminder of how far we still have to go as a city.
But you said crime is down, you idiot.
Shooting into a crowd of people that's not the best of who we are as a city. It's unacceptable, and we will not stand for that in the city of Chicago. We are frustrated, but we are also grieving. We will not rest until there is full accountability. I'm calling on any Chicagoan who has any information about these mass shootings. I'm calling on anyone who has information to come forward. Come forward to help us find these individuals and bring them to justice. It is going to take all of us to stand together against violence. That is why we say that the job of keeping our city safe is not finished. But furthermore, we are still determined, more determined now than ever, to not allow these events to take us backwards. We cannot allow these types of acts of violence to escalate or be normalized. We are mobilizing now to make sure that this incident does not return and bring about more violence. Our Chicago Police Department is working with the families, and victim services are being provided and resources to the families of these victims. Today is certainly a difficult day for our city. We all need to continue to come together and work even harder to stem this senseless violence. I'm grateful to our first responders who showed up the way they always do, as heroes, saving lives and bringing calm to what was a very chaotic event and scene last night. And with that, I'm appreciative of the Superintendent of Police Department, Larry Snelling, and he will speak to you more about these incidents.
Thank you, Mayor. And good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
First, let me just start by sending my condolences to the families of the 4 individuals who lost their lives last night and the 14 others who were injured by gunfire. When you have a mass shooting like this, it's always a brutal scene. The first thing I have to do is talk about the response and the response of our officers to that scene, that you can only imagine a level of chaos, rendering life-saving aid to those who were also injured, getting people to hospitals as quickly as possible. The first responders, the fire department that showed up, our paramedics that showed up to help out, to do whatever they could to save those who were injured and bleeding, to get them to the hospital for treatment. You know, last night's shooting, let's call it what it is, it was deplorable and cowardly. You roll up to a location where we have an event going on, multiple people exited that venue. They were standing on the sidewalk when a vehicle pulled up. It was around 11 o'clock last night, and they opened fire on a crowd. They didn't care who was struck. And in a matter of seconds, they were able to shoot 18 people in a matter of seconds, taking 4 lives. The victims who lost their lives, 4, a 24-year-old male, a 25-year-old male, 26-year-old female, and a 27-year-old female, lost their lives at this senseless shooting. 14 others were injured by gunfire. Now, currently, our detective division is working extremely hard to get to the bottom of this. We as the Chicago Police Department want to make sure that we bring justice to these families, but we also want to make sure that we take individuals who are this violent and this careless off the streets. It's important to all of our residents of Chicago and for anywhere else in this country to remove these types of individuals from the street. Look at how quickly and carelessly 4 lives were snuffed out, with the possibility of a total of 18. We have to do better. We have to hold people accountable. And we, as a society, have to hold people accountable. Wrong is wrong, and when we see it, we need to call it. So we ask anyone who has any information about this shooting, any information about the shooters, you can submit an anonymous tip at cpdtip.com. That's cpdtip.com. It's an anonymous tip that could help our detectives get to the bottom of this. The Office of Victim Services is responding to this shooting currently. They're out talking to the survivors. They're visiting the hospitals. And victim services will be available for not only the victims, but the families of the victims who have been harmed by this particular act. All the services are confidential and free. Anyone in need of crisis counseling and support can contact the Office of Victim Services by phone. The number is 312-745-6340. Again, the number is 312-745-6340, or you can email victimservices@chicagopolice.org. When we talk about gun violence, and this is something that we just talked about recently, it can affect anybody at any given time, innocent bystanders, those who are targeted, and those who are not. These careless acts take lives, creates trauma, fear across our city. Keep one thing in mind, this was an isolated incident at that particular location. It was a space that was rented out.
But they saying that incident with the guy that got killed on 120th in the cell has something to do with this incident. I don't know. There's so much going on in Chicago that it's crazy. We don't condone violence over here. Peace, love, as usual and always, because love is love. But we're going to leave it there because I don't want to hear nothing else they got to say. This mayor is a crooked mayor. He told the people that crime was down. Now all of a sudden, the people really seeing what's going on. And these people from other cities that's seeing what's going on in Chicago. This made world news. Everybody in other states was talking about this. Every other city was talking about this. Like, this is crazy. But y'all like, share, subscribe, hit that notification bell, Media People TV.